So hi everyone, my name's Adam Buss. So I'm going to be giving a short lightning talk today about streamlining data edit checks via the crosstalk package. So go ahead and getting started. So just a little bit about me. So my background is I've been at Abbott Laboratories about 6 years. In my current role, I'm a senior statistician. I spent about the first 5 of those years primarily working on clinical statistics regarding clinical trials for our in vitro diagnostics division. And I more recently moved to the R Center of Excellence. So my more current job is working on our infrastructure, including package building and functions and things like that. So this is a project that I worked on probably about 6 months to a year ago now. One of the problems we have during our studies is that during study data collection, the data requires frequent monitoring. We want to make sure that our data is appropriate for the hypothesis we're trying to solve. And we want to make sure that we are constantly reviewing that to make sure that we are testing in the correct format and that we're not encountering any issues throughout the duration of the study. And this causes an issue because the data can come in a lot of different formats, and we usually want to look at this data now. We want to look at it quickly. So go ahead and kind of moving to our first solution that we looked at for this. So originally we were writing code in R, and we had what we would call template code. So it was code that we would have to usually edit from study to study, but the template or the outline stayed the same, and we were creating Word documents, which are provided for the team to review. This was great to some extent, but at the same time, these reports could run tens to hundreds of pages long. They were very difficult and time-consuming for our end users to streamline insights from and to kind of figure out if there was any issues with their testing. A lot of things would get missed because there's just so much of the weeds to get through to get to what you actually need to look at. So we wanted to move to a better solution than this. So fast forwarding to our second, more recent solution. So we started creating a Microsoft Power BI application, and then we would output our insights using Power BI visualizations. So we were still using our template code to run and generate data sets, and then we would use those data sets to very efficiently create these visualizations. So the one issue we were having with this is that it's incredibly difficult to kind of streamline these processes. I spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out how to get my R code run within Power BI, and that could cause a lot of issues. Microsoft Power BI only allows a certain set of packages that can be run within its system. And the only other alternative to that is to like generate CSVs or something using R and then upload the CSVs in Power BI. And that's like a bunch of different steps, and you're using a bunch of different technologies, and it just gets really messy and really difficult to troubleshoot really quickly. And it makes it hard to maintain these for our end users. So our third solution was we still had the R template code, and now we tried to mold this into a Shiny application and deploy this using Posit Connect. This was great because it allowed us to continue to use our R code and kind of connect everything together. But in my experience, Shiny applications can be very difficult when you're constantly having to update. Like I said earlier, our data would a lot of times come in a lot of different formats, and we would want to streamline similar insights but have different data formats, which made it really hard to clean the data the appropriate way we wanted to clean the data. And in my experiences, Posit Connect and deploying applications can be very time consuming and usually requires a bunch of different cross-functional teams in order to have successful deployments. So I felt like Shiny applications need to be very stable. It was going to be hard with our current infrastructure to create a stable application that wouldn't require constant updates. So as I said, our data structures are very different, and we had limited time. So what would be a solution that could serve our end users constantly well? So the final solution that we came across was using this package called Crosstalk. This was created by the Posit team. I have a citation you can see at the bottom. So, and I stole this part right from their website. So they say Crosstalk is an R package that is an add-on to HTML widgets. It allows for cross-widget interactions, which to me, who's not someone that's in the HTML verse, who I'm just like, I want to do R. What does any of this talk about widgets, and what does any of this talk about HTML mean? It doesn't really mean anything to me. That didn't mean anything to me. So I have my own explanation, which is that Crosstalk allows you to create HTML documents using Rmarkdown or Quarto. So if any of us have, we've all probably created an Rmarkdown or Quarto at any point, and you know that if you render it for the first time, it always renders as an HTML document. And but doing this in an HTML document allows us to have interactive filters. So just very quickly, I'm going to try to get through a couple examples. Hopefully I'm doing okay on time. I'm going to use the Star Wars data set from the Tidyverse. So what I want to do is, so looking at this code really quickly, so I'm just loading 3 packages here. I'm using in Tidyverse, I'm using Plotly, and I'm using Crosstalk. I'm going to load the Star Wars data. And then when you're using Crosstalk, you have to create this shared data object, which is really important. And then also using the Crosstalk packages, I can create these filter selects, which you'll see on the next screen when I show this, kind of creates my filters. And then the next part that I need to have is I need to have some kind of HTML widget. So in this case, I'm just going to create a simple plot using Plotly, which is one of the variety of HTML widgets that's available. And I'm just going to plot the mass versus the height, just to kind of give a very basic example of what this would look like. So what does this look like? So you can see my plot doesn't necessarily fit all the way, but it kind of gives you the idea that I'm plotting the height versus the mass. And I now have these 2 filters. So, and then you can see when I update these filters, I'm going to go ahead and update them very quickly to Tatooine, and then I can choose my gender of choice. I'll choose male in this case, and that it'll filter my data down to just those, just the Tatooine people, that's their home planet, and that are male. So it'll just filter me down to a handful of data points from where I was at. I can change these filters. I can change them, I can go from male to female, and then again, it'll update. So very basic filtering, but definitely provides a lot of usability and ease of use to our end users when this is provided in a nice HTML document. So very quickly, one more example. So again, I'm using the same 3 packages, and this time I'm just gonna, because I'm gonna create a table this time, I'm gonna just narrow my data set down, and I'm only gonna have 1 filter this time, just to make it a little easier. So you can see, again, I'm using the Star Wars data set. I'm just gonna keep the name, the height, the mass, and the home world. Again, I have to create that shared data object using Crosstalk. And then I'm gonna only create 1 filter this time for home world. And this time I'm gonna create a table, again, using an HTML widget, which is the data table function from DT. And I'm just going to have some options set to just make that look what I feel like is a little bit nicer. So then you can see, again, I have this data table on a page. I have the ability to filter down to whichever planet I want to filter down to, and it will give me just those ones. I'll go back to Tatooine so you can see that there's a few here. So it'll give me all of those. And then just to briefly go into conclusions and future developments. So my conclusion is that Quarto and Crosstalk provide a really good framework to provide very basic interactive reports without the infrastructure needed for other applications that require the data to be a little bit more set and require a little bit more work and effort to get a final application product. For future developments, a lot of this code, when you look at the HTML widget codes, they refer a lot to JavaScript, which is not my cup of tea necessarily. So I think a lot of these could be expanded and or cleaned up with a little bit more advanced knowledge of like JavaScript and HTML and things like that. But again, for basic uses, this provides a really good framework. And just very briefly, some acknowledgements. So I had the opportunity to work with one of my colleagues, Jenna, on this. We did a lot of the work together. So I got the honor of presenting today, but she did a lot of work on this. Thank you to my manager, Rose, for giving me the opportunity to present today. And then thank you to my previous manager, Jennifer. She was the one who kind of tasked me with this project and gave me the opportunity to kind of look into this and learn a little bit more. And that's kind of what I have. So I do not know if I have time for questions, but if I do, I can take them now.